Okay, welcome to part 2 of my presentation. I got a little flustered towards the end there, and I got 3 wild triplets running around in here, so thanks for bearing with me, and sorry I didn't have more time to edit a professional screencast for you. Okay, so once you have got some ideas written as notes, you're going to turn those into more complete thoughts and sentences, okay? So I like to keep this little formula for a 2-chunk paragraph written. I have a little poster that I put up in my room, and I do emphasize to kids that this is just a formula. And really what you're looking for is like a certain ratio of concrete details to commentary, okay? So like you need to report some things that you see or find, but you also need to spend a little bit of time here and there adding those up to your own take or interpretation. Okay, so this follows that 2-chunk paragraph formula. After you have written something, you're still not done. You got to weave. And I think this is an extremely important part of Jane Schaefer's process, okay? So real writing doesn't necessarily follow that. In fact, not necessarily. It doesn't at all follow that 2-chunk paragraph formula. Good writers, they weave their CDs and CMs together in an infinite number of ways. That's what makes your writing more interesting. It's what, this is how you develop your style. So I think that, personally, in my own experience, I've seen Jane Schaefer's process gets a lot of criticism because, and rightfully so, this is a really formulaic thing to write. And I'm sure there are a lot of college professors out there that cannot stand to see a 2-chunk paragraph. I believe, or, now I'm going to talk about blah, one reason why blah, another reason why blah, and these add up to blah, blah. That is why it is important. This, drives a lot of people crazy because it's formulaic, okay? So once you have the formula, you got to break it and make your writing say your own thing. This also is, for some people, this is not easy to teach, and it's about knowing what your students need. So if your students need to back up and spend more time on, planning or drafting, and you don't really get to weaving, then that's okay. But if your students are able to sort of set up a not rudimentary, but they can do a competent paragraph, but it has no style and it doesn't really say much, then maybe move along and focus on the weaving instead. That's kind of where I'm at with my AP students. My AP students, they don't need a lot of help with the planning and the drafting, but my AP students, it's about finding their voice. That's what I'm finding is the common theme for a lot of them. And so weaving is a way to do that. It's an interesting way too, I think, to teach grammar without teaching grammar. You've got to vary sentence types here. So you can work on just patterns like, something like this it's a good, I wouldn't teach a class, here's how you write a sentence like this, but this is a good way to combine your thoughts in a way that you didn't do in sentences before. Okay, so to recap, writing is not a linear thing, right? And as it so happens, the teaching of writing also not linear. So this is a little meta, just don't think too hard about it, okay? It's not like we're going to start on lesson 1 and then we'll move along and then, yay, now you're a proficient writer after you've had a certain number of lessons or a certain number of things, okay? Writing is a recursive process, which means you're kind of never finished and you kind of never started. There's no beginning. You can't start at the beginning and you're kind of never finished. You just, move from jumping off point to jumping off point, and your idea is to elevate your jumping off points every time you do. So I think of it as more kind of like, you know, if we turn one of these circles on its side like this, and we stack a bunch up and we make the circles bigger as we go, it's kind of more like a tornado, okay? It's complicated, and writing and teaching writing works differently for every human being out there, and that's kind of something that drives people nuts about English, but it's what I like too, is, you know, it's about finding your voice and always finding new ways to make meaning. Okay, so you got to just hop onto the process somewhere. Okay, so again, you know, maybe the colors make sense for you. Maybe the colors, you know, they just take too long, and so don't have your students do it, but jump on, you know, talk about crafting commentary or weaving instead, okay? So I really hope that this is not offensive to anybody. I didn't mean to coincide with all the natural disasters that are going on now. But really, I kind of wanted to just find an excuse to use my favorite GIF. I try to show this to students whenever I get them going on writing. It's like, okay, we have some ideas. Now you're going to go, okay? So that is my take on Jane Schaefer. And so here are a few of the assignments that I use with students. And again, guys, I'm going to be adding to this folder, and I'd like to invite you to add also. If it's possible. I'm figuring out the new sites, Google Sites myself. I made this little basic presentation about commentary because I found that for my freshmen especially, commentary is kind of like a year-long goal for me, being able to actually have something to say. This is just a graphic organizer. I keep a lot of these around, and this helps us plan literary or response to literature, paragraphs, and writing. Okay, this is another one that I used to just have lots and lots of copies of this around, and so every time we wrote, I would get out my red and green and blue pens and hand these out to students. And I think this, if I could just wave my magic wand, I would really want content teachers to use this think sheet. So like science or history. You know, this doesn't really lend itself to, or, you know, it lends itself to weaving, but if you move into weaving, it kind of takes maybe a long time and you want to just move on to other ideas. It's okay to be formulaic, you know, sometimes. And teachers who don't normally teach writing, I think that this think sheet is kind of accessible and useful. I didn't make this, by the way. I found this one online. This is this comic that I found online that was sort of my anchor text for talking about worldviews. Doesn't really have anything to do with Jane Schaefer, but I think it's really interesting, so I hope you take a second to read it. This is an assignment that I've been planning for a while, but I'm going to be introducing it for the first time with my AP Lang Juniors. I am going to give them the overview of Jane Schaefer. I'm going to give them a 5-paragraph essay template that I have. And then they're going to write a terrible formulaic essay. So I'm sort of using this as a way to teach weaving, okay? Like, after they write this terrible essay, they're going to pick some excerpts and weave their ideas together. But I've also found that, you know, when we get into writer's workshop, they'll say things like, why did you end this paragraph with in conclusion? That's such a lame transition. So I'm hoping that they're going to talk about what some of this stuff means as we're writing it. That's my plan. Okay. And I think that, and this is a peer review writer's workshop that also lends itself to CDs and CMs. I found this online. I didn't make it. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, this was very thrown together, and I really appreciate your understanding. I don't speak for Jane Schaefer, and I'm not here to sell, you know, this system necessarily. But I guess if I was going to sum up today, I would say that From my brief but illustrious career working at a casino, I learned that you got to have a system. And Jane Schaefer is a system. If that system doesn't work for you, I think you got to have something when it comes to writing, because our kids do need to write more. And again, it's just so hard to tell a child, take this blank piece of paper and turn it into something special. So instead, you just teach them there are ways to approach it. You think of your ideas first, you put your ideas in order, and then you weave them together in an artful way. Thank you so much for taking the time to share this with me. And tomorrow I look forward to your questions, comments, collaborations, etc. Have a wonderful day, guys. And thank you so much for... Oh, yeah, that has examples. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Thanks for... No. There it is. Okay. Thank you for watching.